Ready or not. Let's see if
What?
anybody's here.
Not yet, but we're live.
Where do you see the counter at when people come on?
Where it
Oh,
says, yeah,
oh
we're
yeah, I
live,
see.
like literally live right now.
There's somebody on. I see one eye.
That's me.
Oh, let me go. Let's see if people can make it out here. You see, I'm not getting the notifications on my phone. I started to make it out here.
Hey, hey, Corey Dorable, Cali Aquariums, what is up? Everybody's starting to trickle in. Welcome, welcome.
Hey Jesse, how you doing? There we go.
It's going to be a good show.
We're hoping to put on a good show. Nah, not hoping. We are going to put on a show.
Well, I'd say let's go ahead and get started. If you're ready, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
It's a beautiful Saturday, and I'm excited to be here on this newest endeavor that we are undertaking in the aquarium social media tube. I guess that's what you could colorfully call it.
Well, I mean, it's got its ups and its downs, but
Yeah,
we're going to take advantage of its upside.
yeah. All righty. Well, welcome to the show, guys. I'm Steve from Warrior Planet Tanks, and I'm here with my co-host, George from Mexicali. This is Fish, Plants, and Mice, where it's just two normal guys, no BS conversation about the aquarium hobby. We got fish, we got plants, we got mice, which literally translates to a little bit more. So, a little bit about myself for y'all who don't know. I'm Steve from Warrior Planet Tanks. I've been in the hobby since I was young, so I was like 9. And I got about 30 years of experience, more or less, in the hobby. I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a veteran, and I'm a resident fish and plant nerd. That's really just a quick rundown of who I am. Uh, kind of what brought this about. George reached out to me. He saw some of my videos. We ended up talking, sharing some ideas. And it was like, hey, these conversations we're having would be kind of dope to share with the people. Next thing you know, some phone calls and emails. Boom, here we are. It's only going to get better. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and send it over to you, George, if you want to let the people know what's up and how this whole thing got started. Let them know who you are,
All right.
Mexicali.
Like Steve said, my name is Jorge, Mexicali Fishkeeper, but everybody calls me George, so I'm Jorge George works for me. That's fine. Uh, just to go back a little bit on the name of our stream, why fish, plants, y más. Um, Obviously, fish and plants is pretty obvious, but the y más is what I really want to talk about a little bit more. And the reason is, I I spend a lot of time on Facebook groups here locally where I live, and also watch some of the streams that are that are done in Mexico and stuff like that. And I've come to find out that there are quite a bit of viewers here in the states that, although they understand English and they can speak it, but when it comes to trying to ask technical questions, they rather do it in their native tongue, which is usually it will be Spanish for some of the people that I've seen. And the IMAS is to let you know de que aquí puedes preguntar lo que tú quieras. Si es en español, ya sea yo o Steve, te podemos contestar, porque algunos de ustedes no lo saben, pero Steve habla español también. ¿Verdad, Steve?
Sí, claro que sí.
So the IMAS is a play on two things. One, it's letting people know that if you want to communicate with us in Spanish, go ahead. We'll understand. We'll read your question. We'll translate it into English if we need, so that everybody else that doesn't understand what's being asked can be included, and then we'll go ahead and give you your answer. So, that's one of the purposes. And the other one is that imas, like Steve said, means and more. So it's going to be more than just fish and plants. We're trying to really generate a stream where we can talk about the hobby. We'd really like to stay, hobby oriented with our streams, and we'll try to be a little bit more professional and stay on task. I know everybody tries to do that, and sometimes, based on where the conversation goes, it'll kind of go in a different direction. But we will always try to bring you back to what our main topic is going to be for the day. Today is just a quick introduction as to what we are planning to do for the future and what's to come. And that's what we wanted to share with you guys today. Because I know any topic that we can discuss can go very deep and very long and complicated and technical sometimes. And that's the other thing. Me and Steve have talked about that. I know some of these subjects can be very dry. And, especially when they have the amount of experience as Steve and I, we can go real deep into technical stuff. And obviously we have to remember not to do that and get too far gone where we get, so into whatever it is we're discussing that we kind of lose people. So
Right.
The idea of the balance that we're trying to achieve is not only be informative, but at the same time be entertaining. And also keeping it real, like Steve said. I mean, we're just regular people. I mean, and the only difference is, and I think it goes without saying that the common thread between all of us that are here is this hobby back here. The keeping of the fit. And so also in the conversation, getting back to what I was talking about, those Facebook groups, one of the things that I always found discouraging is that those groups are supposed to be meant to help people out and to be able to make them feel safe to ask a question. And I don't know why, and I know I'm not the only one that's seen this, that some people, especially new hobbyists trying to get information, when they ask a question, just get eaten up alive, and at some points even ridiculed. And to me, that's not fair, because when we all started this hobby, very few of us knew everything there is to know, or what you know to this date. It's always been a learning process. So that's kind of what we're trying to do here. We're trying to create an environment where you can go ahead and feel free to ask whatever you want to know. And if for some reason Steve or myself do not know the answer to that, we'll find you.
We'll figure it out.
We'll find you the answer. What's nice about this community, and is that both of us have made friendships because of this hobby exclusively, with other people that are subject matter experts, whereas we might not be on certain things. For example, if you come to me with a saltwater question, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to refer you somewhere else, because I don't know anything about that hobby. And,
not yet.
No, that's what everybody.
We're working on it.
That's what everybody keeps telling me, that I need to get started. My biggest fear is not that I can't do it, is that, and I always joke around. You start off with a simple hang on the back or sponge filter, and the next thing you know, you're taking out a second mortgage on your house to be able to buy the latest corals and gadgets, and selling your firstborn child to be able to get the latest coral out there. So that's the only reason, because I know myself. I know I would go deep in the woods, and and just and put a hurting in my economy probably.
Yeah.
And well, anything else you want to add to?
Yeah, actually, I do. You brought up something. You brought up a point that really resonated with me. Why we're here? It speaks to the larger reason of what really brought us together to invest the time into doing something like this when, we both have our own channels and our own lives, but this is something that's good. Being able to ask a question, right? So fostering a community where that's exactly what it is. And unfortunately, what we get into in the digital age is you have people who may not know better. And what we say in the military, Sergeant Major, I'm stealing this from you, so thank you. He know enough to know better, is what they would say. And you get on Facebook, the various groups, or I was even on a thing called Amino one time, But it's basically this inflated sense of importance. So where people are vicious, right? And they pick other people apart. They're just really nasty. And that has nothing to do with learning. That has nothing to do with coming together on a common thread. And I know for a fact that I've experienced it myself in the hobby. And one of the things that stood out when you brought this to me, because I'm going to be honest, it was Jorge's idea. He proposed this to me, and it was so intriguing of an idea that I had to entertain it. What we're trying to do is represent equity among the hobby. We want to highlight everybody, and everybody means everybody. And that's what we intend to do on this platform is highlight everybody. But see, here's the thing. The hobby is always and is and will be the priority of anything that we do or anything that we undertake on this platform. It's just unfortunate. It's an unfortunate truth that me and you, for example, easy. What do you say? We got at least 50 years of combined experience in the hobby. But what people don't see is they'll be like, oh, well, he only has, a couple hundred subs, or this guy, he only has 100 and something videos and, this many subs. But what you guys don't know is everything that goes on behind the scenes. Look at the person. And it's the same thing. You have a busy life. You're a pillar of the community. It's the same thing, but you still manage to have beautiful tanks. You're open-minded, open to learn, and you got an eye for it. I told you that the other day. You're showing me a project. I don't know if I'm doing the spoiler, but no. Yeah, that thing is dope, bro. But yeah, basically, that's where it's at. I'm an outspoken person, and I don't like bullies. And I just, I love you guys too much to BS you, And it's just one of those things that it's an honor and a privilege kind of sort of thing. This is going to be great. And you guys are witnessing history. So those of you who are here now, thank you guys for being here. It's only going to get better from here. With that, you kind of want to dive into what we got, or, I think that's a good segue. Let's talk about experience and respecting other people's experience in the hobby. You personally, how can you relate that not only to the hobby, but in life? For example, being a father, being a husband in your career, being a responsible adult and human being, if you will.
Well, the way I can relate, my personal life and learning experiences to the hobby. See, one of the things growing up, I guess I had ADHD, and I was very, very hyperactive. I had a hard time in school trying to focus on one thing. And one of the benefits that I've had because of this hobby is that it allows me to address those issues.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's over time is had I've really struggled with it, but it's learning patience.
Okay.
Trying to understand that when you set something up, we all want that instant. Well, I mean, in my personal opinion, I want that instant gratification. I want it to look, exactly like what I have envisioned in my mind. But I've learned that I have to trust the process. And
Right.
what I mean by that is once you set things up, you just got to tweak them here and there and let time just what? Oh,
Just, just,
yeah.
just let time.
Yeah,
Just don't. Just a
you just gotta
little.
let
Solo
you
un
just gotta
poquito.
give it time, let it do its thing. You know, let it go. If the tag needs to cycle, let it cycle. At the very beginning, when I first got into this hobby, just because I didn't know,
Mm-hmm.
I went through a lot of mistakes, and that's one thing for people that are just either on the fence about getting into the hobby or just started the hobby. Is the one advice I can give you, or the one takeaway from all of this, is that I don't think there's a single person here who, at one point or another, has not killed a fish or a plant. And, you know, and that's okay. I want you to know that's okay because there's no other way you're going to learn, especially if you didn't know that the resources were out there, that you could get that information. It always you always go through a few stumbles when you're starting along the way, but like everything else, we tend to learn from our mistakes. Most of us do,
Mm-hmm.
um, and so if there's a takeaway from this, is just know that it's okay if you can't get it right the first time. That doesn't mean you got to all throw it all away and walk away from it. Um, just give it another try. And the reason I say, I know a lot of people assume, well, especially like my kids' generation, they actually grew up on YouTube. When I was growing up,
Mm-hmm.
the internet didn't even exist. I was kind of the generation that has grown with the internet and all the advancements that it's had, and all these applications and stuff like that. So I'm actually a
Mm-hmm.
late comer to the game. Even though I've been keeping fish for quite a while, I really didn't start into YouTube and Instagram and all that other stuff that's out there, that's social media, until the beginning of this year.
Oh
And
wow.
and so for me, I mean, documenting this stuff has been recently few. If you look at my channel, you'll see I'm not lying. I started in January,
Mm-hmm.
and and but that doesn't mean that before I kept watching people on YouTube, and always thinking, I like to do something like that, and I always felt that I lacked the knowledge or the skills to be able to do something like this. But I encourage you, even if you're just starting in the hobby, it's a great way to log your progress. If you're starting, today, and you want to keep a memoir per se of all the learning stuff that you, or all the phases that you've gone through, because believe me, you do this long enough, you're going to start seeing a transformation. The problem is, if you don't document that, you're going to miss out on it. And the nice thing about this platform is you can start creating a log of what you've done. And if you look at most people that have these big channels on YouTube, you can go back to the very beginning, and you can see how raw you were when you started. I can even tell from today to about, what, 6 months ago, the difference. And the more you do this, the little bit more comfortable you can get in front of the camera. Yes, Steve, you got something to add?
Yeah, yeah. Can I expound on that, please?
Sure, go ahead.
Oh my goodness. You hit one, bro.
Yeah.
Oh wow. That's a jewel to share for the people. You know what I'm saying? That's
Yep.
good stuff. So check this out. It's about growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is the beauty of this hobby, is it is about growth. And there's really no such thing as failure. What I've learned from keeping aquariums is this is a huge, huge exercise in humility because this will humble you. I don't care who you are or what your experience level is, this will give you moments of pause, moments of complete frustration, doubt, anguish, rage, you name it. But it's all growth. And the instant gratification. So like you were just nailing them, bro. Boom, 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 one after another, these points, right? Everything that you said resonates, right? You said you were talking about the gratification, right? Being patient and learning to respect the process. You got to respect the process. And I think with YouTube, one of the things that's unfortunate is it's disingenuous. It's very irresponsible. So I'm constantly getting DMs, phone calls, right? Of people picking my brain for stuff. And I have to constantly remind myself to put my information bias to the side because everyone does not know what I know. And instead of becoming annoyed or frustrated or perturbed, I'm actually flattered. I'm honored. Um, I'm honored and I'm emboldened that they would seek me out for my knowledge and say, hey, this is what I got going on. Then after after I get through dealing with that emotional aspect of the interaction, right? The leader in me, right? The big brother, you're under my umbrella of protection. Like that kicks in and I'm like, where did you get this information from? Who told you that? And I need to know everything. Because then like the hunter kicks in and I'm like, why are you misleading my people? This is a source of happiness. Look, anything else that could be going on in my life, and I've had a tumultuous one, but we're not here for that. But there's enough nonsense going on anyway. The whole point of a hobby is to sustain grandiose ideologies, be unrealistic, spend money that you probably shouldn't spend, and enjoy doing it in the love and fellowship of a community. Because guess what? When you get through doing that, all the rest of the nonsense that's out there in the world, it's waiting for you. So guess what? When I step into my aquatic world, like all my stuff, that is a sacred hallowed ground. And what's happening is we're fostering an environment of egocentric nonsense, and we're not learning anymore. We're not respecting other people's experience, which I just think is terrible. And what used to have so much value, now it doesn't have any value because it's all about what the peanut gallery is saying, on whose photo on whatever social media platform you pick one. I'm starting to realize, like with the whole social media thing, like I had no idea how pervasive social media was for fish tanks, right? So something that I've like hidden my whole life, kind of like only the people who intimately have known me my whole life know that I'm nuts about aquariums. You see what I'm saying? And then like everybody else would be like, dude, you need to grow up. That's like way too many aquariums for a grown man. You know, like get a grip. This is unrealistic, Steve. What are you doing? Right? But I'm not the only one. And it is apparent that I'm not the only one. And like what I think is over the top, apparently, like we're both behind the curve, apparently, but it comes to ethics, right? What's ethical and what's not. Like at the end of the day, I think the whole Facebook bully, uh, fish police, all these terms, it's known, you know. I think what fosters that is people superimposing their insecurities and their shortcomings on other people. Because at the end of the day, it's fish tanks, you know? Like literally, it's a fish tank. Like we're nerds, but like I'm not a nerd. We two cool cats. Look at us, man. You know, like we exemplify like what normal dudes should be, and we're pillars of the community too. And so it's just that we take pride in our aquariums, we take pride in ourselves, and we love. Like that's a part of it, really. You know, so like all them points was just like boom, 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 one after the other, and I think the people need a place where they can come and know that not only are we're just walking the walk, but they got a place where they can come and have an environment where they can feel good about it too. And I just want to, you know, I want to share that with y'all out there right now while y'all watching.
Yeah. Just to add a little bit on what you were saying about why it is that people can feel with probably a little bit of the courage to go ahead and say these mean things. And I think a lot of it, and it's not just in in our community, but I think it's just in general. When we were talking about the disadvantages of social media, the problem with it that I see with it is that you can get away with saying stuff with not having accountability because you
Right.
can remain anonymous. And
Bingo.
some people mistake that, with them giving them the right to say probably atrocious things that they wouldn't say if they were standing
Right.
right in front of you. I think that's unfortunate. That's just human nature. I think anytime you can be anonymous and you feel you can get away with saying or doing stuff, people usually do. Unfortunately, but that's why it's important that you understand that our goal here is to not have that. We're going to hold
Right.
people accountable to what they say. You can hold us accountable for what we say and the information that we give you. Um, because, and even though we might not know, everything there is to be out there about the hobby, our years of experience and trial and error has taught us, um, at least to the point where we can keep our fish, thriving and in an environment, somewhat similar, I guess, to what would be their natural environment, if you want to say that. And that could be for debate too, because
Yeah.
the minute we take them out of where they're at and put them in these boxes, it's nothing like where they come
Yeah.
from.
Amen
But
to that.
the idea is we're in this hobby, we're keeping them in containers, and I say containers because you can really keep them in anything you want, as long as you fall within the parameters that they're supposed to have, and you do the husbandry you're supposed to be doing for your pets. And but I'm really excited about what we're doing.
Hmm.
Uh, I think we can all learn from each other. Steve was talking about learning. One of the things you know that I've learned over the course of my life is you can learn from anybody. You'll be surprised if you listen to people to what they're saying. You'll be surprised who you can learn stuff from. You can never underestimate people, um, because they could be younger than you, or maybe older than you, or they from they're just a different. They're they're not normally people you would interact with, but that doesn't mean that they can't teach you something. We can all learn something from each other,
So
and
true.
and that's hopefully what we're here was to reinforce this community. This community in general is very good. It's very generous. Everybody that I've interacted with to this point has been very kind to me. Um,
Hmm.
I have made some very valuable friendships to me that there's no other way that I would have done it if it wasn't for the fact that we're on social media and that allows us to communicate with each other. For example, Steve and I really believe that if it wasn't for YouTube and social media, me and Steve would not be friends because we
Right.
would have never have crossed paths. He's in Houston, I'm in Arizona in Yuma, and it's just it would have been a serious coincidence that we would have kind of crossed paths at one point and developed that friendship. Also, what's in and I see several of you here in the chat now that I
I
can
was gonna
say
say, I was
uh,
gonna say something about that too.
that
I'm
I
glad you brought that up.
that I can say that about several of you that are here in this. As a matter of fact, the only reason you guys are here is because you're supporting us. And it's not that we've ever really met face to face or we've shaken hands or a formal introduction. It's always, in my case, that started with either making a comment on a post and I get a response, and then before you know it, you're going back and forth, talking about things that you like from what they're doing and stuff like that. And that's why I'm I'm real appreciative of this community in itself.
Right.
Anything you
Yeah.
want to add?
Yeah. Speaking of holding people accountable for what they say, I want to take a few seconds. I've been cruising the chat and looking at what everybody's saying. So I see Corey Dorable Cali Aquariums is in here. Thank you for stopping by. Kush S is in here. Thank you for stopping by. Kazzy Cat is in here. Thank you also for stopping by. Who else is in here? We got Laura Victoria. Says I'm still pretty much a noob. Happy to meet so many friendly and chill people. That's what's up. Skipper's Aquariums is in
Yeah,
here. What is up to the homie Skipper? Who else is in here?
another fellow
Abdiel.
veteran.
Hey, hey, that's what's up. Salute to the veteran. Abdiel, what is up? Corey Aqua, I'm glad you made it. Also, let's see who else we got in here. Dang, it's a lot of comments. But
Yeah,
going to what you said about what you just got through saying, talking about the community and like how me and you met, right? So I want to talk about those fish. I want to talk about the uh, Aphanius minto, the iridescent tooth carp, the Turkish Achilles, and see, so check this out, people, because if you haven't seen that video, I urge you to go check it out. It wasn't clickbait. I really was emotional, but like I'm like I don't know. I'm pretty good at yeah, just because I've just been exposed to so much. I'm getting better to where like I want to be more emotionally available. I think we all should, you know, try to be better, balanced, right? Just like an aquarium. So experience, experience. It's amazing how the thread, right? It's such a fine thread, man. But the parallels are so many. Veteran, dad, husband, like those are all parallels. Hobbyist. Then you bring up the fact that you have these uh killifish because we were talking about a completely unrelated topic, and I was going off on one of my taxonomical tangents, you know, talking about divergent evolution and something else. What it was something crazy. I was going ham, and I brought because I was like, bro, you're in Arizona, and I was like, if it was worth going to prison for, I wish I could like get me some of them desert pupfish, or I don't know, make real good friends with one of them scientists or something. I don't know, like adopt them, be like a godfather to one of their kids, go to the quinceañera, something like that. I don't know, but get some of those fish. And we were talking about how nature builds what it needs to based on the environment. So, like, it doesn't matter. They could be genetically as diverse as you could imagine, right? But this environment and this environment are the same, and they mold those organisms damn near identically. And that is so amazing. And then you bring up the fact that you were talking about the killifish, and I was telling you about the killifish that we called the mud minnows when I was in the Persian Gulf, and I saw them in full salt water, and I saw them in Eurohaline environment, so brackish water, which was damn near salt water. I mean, I don't know. I really don't like to talk about that a whole lot, but the AOR is like that. It's not all desert. You see what I'm saying? Like the Euphrates River Delta, all these places, like there's life everywhere. So, like I don't know what you would call them, the workers, man. I'm trying to be PC, but the worker people, man, that would be like the shipyard people, the dock workers, them, bro. Like they would like literally get like a coffee can or something, bro, or the Fanta, 1 liter, and like poke holes in it, and like jerry rig a scoop thing, bro, and they be catching them, bro. They make dry fish. They be using them for bait. Like you already know what time it is, bro. Coke bottle, fishing line. Think it's a game, bro. And we're over there, bro. What are you gonna do, bro? You're at freaking war. We're there for the long haul. We're camped out. It is what it is. So I'm observing. Then you say you have these things, and the ones I saw were Aphanius fasciatus, the Arabian pupfish. Then you say you have Minto, and I'm like, nah. Then you show them to me, and I see all those males dancing around in that tank like Christmas lights. And I was like, what? And then, like, I'm not going to lie, bro. When I opened the box and I saw them, I was flooded with emotions, bro. Like, it was crazy. Like, bro, thinking about how much stuff has transpired between then and now, and all those memories, memories that I had suppressed on purpose, and it's just amazing how this is how it works, man. Like, it's just, to me, the aquarium hobby is hollow to ground. And that is just one of the many sea stories I could tell you. And I mean, I know you was a ground pounder. You wasn't as elite as me, being in America's finest Navy. You was out there doing you was doing the Lord's work. I commend you. But I'm pretty sure y'all got some smoke pit stories, or stories you could tell when you were on drill or whatever. Just crazy stuff that you experienced.
Yeah, but no, and going back to that whole conversation of those fish, and I do remember that conversation vividly. And I remember asking you because we started talking about the Devil's Hose pupfish. Yeah. And I said, you know what? I have these killies here that I can't find too much information on them, and that's, I think, how that whole conversation led up to it. And I was telling you that the reason I got those fish was because they sort of resemble, in body style and body shape and in color.
Right.
And when I remember very vividly, I said, yeah, I have these killifish. You're like, what are they? And I told you the name, and your eyes and your mouth just opened. And you were like, no way. And I was
Jorge,
like, yeah.
Jorge, permiso. Un favor, por favor. Dime si puedes. Búscalo y poner eso. Put it on the screen. Por la pantalla, a picture of it, so the people can see what we're talking about. Un momento, por favor. Y'all check it out. I'm going to scroll the comments real quick. Let's see what we got here. Kushes, what's up? Corey Dorable is in here doing it. And let's see who we got here. Abby Dale says, any Playco lovers here? This guy right here. I love him. Leave it in the comments, Abdiel. What is your favorite Playco L number? And if you don't know the L number, just the store, like the name of it, like Super Red or Gold Nugget, Royal. I will tell you my favorite, and it's weird. It's my favorite. It's not my best one. It's my favorite one. Like, I really enjoy it. It is the Arabesque Playco. That is it's just a classy fish. Ain't nothing special about it, but they really look nice. And that's mine. The 333 and the 66, those are classics. Skipper, we already know Skipper though. Skipper is a resident fish nerd, y'all, for those y'all who don't know. Cassie Cat, she says she almost bought a little Starlight Pleco. I like those, but they said the bio load was large, so I passed, but so cute. Girl, you could get that fish. Throw some plants in there. This is why we made this podcast, for people in situations just like our adorable Cassie Cat. Look here. Anything is possible. Anything is possible. It's all about who you ask. So moving forward, if you would like to entertain a bio load, there's ways that you can mitigate. All right, you got a goldfish, which is just as much bio load as a Playco, but you got what you wanted. So there you go. Cassie Cat says that they eat all her plants. Goldfish do eat plants, but there's ways you can mitigate it based on what plants you put in there. They don't eat all plants. They just eat most of them. I have successfully kept goldfish with plants with no problem. I've kept notorious plant eaters with plants. And most fish, it's easier for me to say fish that I've never seen eat plants than ones that I have. And eating is eating. A nibble equals eating. It doesn't mean that they completely and entirely subsist on plants, but hey, everybody is prone to a little salad every now and again. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, Steve.
Yes, sir.
You know what? I'm gonna fail you on that one, because I was trying to figure out how to. This is my first time really being behind the steering wheel.
Oh, I can walk you to it.
All right.
You go to click on the share screen, and then you're gonna have a drop down. There you go. And then you just open the window you want and Google it, and it'll show.
So get rid of this.
Yeah, go back down to the settings again. And then thank you guys for bearing with us. This is awesome.
Okay, so now I got rid of that slide that we had.
Okay, do you have the fish pulled up in a different window?
Yes.
Okay, so you should be able to share that window the same way you shared the slide.
Okay, my question is, how do I bring it from there to here?
Oh, you got to share your entire screen.
Okay, and so I go to share.
Yeah.
What is it? Video file? No, share screen.
Yeah, it should be at the bottom. If I remember. I'm trying to do this by photographic memory. My computer, like Murphy's Law on me, you guys. So, but you know what? We're both veterans, and boom. Head on a swivel, man.
Oh,
You always got to complete the mission, no matter what. There's no excuses for not being successful.
okay. What did it do? Let me see if that's going to do it. Nope. Why is it
If you
doing that?
can't, because you're sharing. Yeah, you got to close that. I tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pull it up and hold it up to the camera if that's okay.
Yeah, that's
The
fine.
way they can see.
Uh, uh, note to self: we need to work on that.
Hey, dude, we're like this is OJT, baby. We're in the field. We are gonna we're gonna be successful regardless. Here we are. All right, can you see that? There you are.
Okay.
That's it right there. So this is just a general idea, folks, and just bear with us. We're fish nerds, not tech junkies. But anybody that wants to help out and contribute, that's like good with that stuff, running VTCs and stuff like that, send us an email at fishplantsemas@gmail.com. We will pop the email up here shortly, and we'll see what we can do. We'll be glad to see if we can bring you aboard.
All right. So, you told them a little bit about your background, right, Steve?
Yeah, not really. What do you guys want to know? Let me look in the comments because I really like the ability to be able to interact with everyone like this via the comments. All right, so it's a lot of talk about Pleco. Yeah, the L260s are beautiful. I like that Luteus too. Yeah, they did start doing the LDAs. There's so many Plecos, they had to start doing that. I like Lower Card Days though. That's like my favorite family is Lower Card Days. And then after that, I like Pecolitas. Those are cute. I don't know if a fish can be cute. You know what I'm saying? But no,
There's
so
nothing
like
wrong
my
with that.
background. Yeah,
They
no,
can be
my
cute.
background is they can't. I don't really know. Give me some context, give me some direction, Jorge. Por favor.
I know.
Ayúdame un
Just
poquito.
I'm thinking more of your fish keeping trajectory. You know how you got started. What did you start with, and how has it evolved to where you're at now?
Ah.
Especially because of the name that you have in your channel is Warrior Planet. Tanks. So
Mm-hmm.
I know what the Warrior is because we share that in common. But the plants is the part that always intrigued me when I first came to your channel.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, just learning all. I mean, people don't know this, but they should really take a deep dive in your channel because you know so much about plants. I know a little bit, but you're way out there when it comes to these plants. And if I'm not mistaken, you were keeping plants that are just starting to become popular now, and we're talking 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's the one part. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
My aeroid phase. Yeah, I went into an aeroid phase. So aeroids, how do you say that? Aeraceae. So it's all the plants. We're talking about Bucafa Alandra, also known as Boos. And I was rolling in Boos pretty heavy. Still am. Um, I like it. It's a cool plant. It's aeroid. They're dope. I'm on this whole thing, right? So when I was 19, I was 19, and I went on this crazy kick of nature and spirituality, right? And I really began to focus on the concept of as above, so below, right? And it intrigued me because I was trying to like understand and realize who gets to say what is what based on some arbitrary empirical data. That's where understanding comes into place, right? So, like, I'm from Houston. I'm a Texan. I'm a native, right? But what a lot of people don't know is Texas is a pretty diverse state as far as geography is considered. I'm not going socio-political. I'm talking about the land mass itself. And I grew up, Houston is in Southeast Texas. It's on the Gulf coastal plain, but it's in Bayou country. Houston is affectionately nicknamed the Bayou City. This is relevant because growing up here and seeing these different ecosystems gave me the ability to develop kind of like an intimate understanding with nature and the things around me. And I began to understand like characteristics that things would exhibit um, based on said environment, i.e. the conversation we previously had about the pupfish. So I've loved to observe patterns in things. Okay. The as above, so below concept was basically how in the hell are these plants and trees and all the stuff able to survive in the Amazon rainforest underwater for like 6 to 8 months out of the year? In some cases, depending on the monsoon, 12 months out of the year. And they're fine. And that's when I was reading books by Felipe was Holy, the Dutch guy I was telling you about, one of the goats, bro, like one of the goats, like all his books, and I was just in it, bro. Polydariums, vivariums, like basically all the stuff that's hot in the streets right now with the names that end in arium. I was doing that before I knew what they was, just because that's where I was at, you know. Uh, Chinese water dragons. I had a crocodile lizard. All kind of stuff, bro. Different turtles, different just cool, dope setups, man. And I just begin to understand the balance, right? The parts. You got to have all the parts. If you don't have all the parts, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And it was like by force because I didn't have a whole lot of money, but I didn't let that become the limiting factor. You dig? The money, it didn't matter because I could read those books and stuff and I could jam. So that's where I was at. And it was from there, boom, my love of plants. My grandma was a green thumb. She introduced me to that. I used to help her when I was a kid, like with the garden and all that stuff. And it just hit. And it's a therapy for me, And it just goes back to what you said about the bullying. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let me tell y'all something. It ain't necessarily what's being done or what's being said as much as it is who doing it and who's saying it. Because all of this stuff, it's so many things that I've seen just in life. People told me I was a complete idiot for even fathoming those ideas and possibilities. Only later to see, them same cats glorifying this other clown as part of his or her peanut gallery when they do the exact same thing, i.e. saltwater nano tanks. Same time period. I think I was 19 or 20. I was younger. I had a little 29 gallon nano tank, and this was back in the day when if you tried to keep a full reef in anything under a 55 without the big ass VHOs and the metal halides and the sodiums and the mercuries and all that nonsense, chillers, everything, you was a nut, you was a loon, you didn't know what you was doing. Like literally now, I got my 60-liter bio orb that I salvaged out of the trash. This is my #1 video on my channel. And it's full reef, and I'm running LPS corals and some pretty not so common damselfish. You know, you can get them, obviously, because I got them, but you don't see them all the time, you know. And it's just a testament of how far we've come in the hobby. And without the experience of all of us compounded and, you know, expounded upon, I wouldn't be able to do this. I plug and played this tank so fast. Like, and it's this stuff's not cheap, you guys. But I haven't lost anything. And that is awesome. But yeah, that's pretty much it, my background, you know. Gypsy style, basically. Being of the thing, stability was never a virtue of mine growing up. Been a gypsy, had a pretty tumultuous childhood, lost my mom at an early age to a murder, and we kind of just bounced around as kids, you know. And even that transposed into my latter years, you know, adolescent into early 20s, it's stability, you know. And I tanked the whole time. Some dope projects. Then military, boom, 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 bam. You already know. 4 military moves equals no property. Because government contractors always ruin your stuff. You know, you do at least 2 military moves, bro. You're gonna have to rebuy all your stuff. They know it's guaranteed. It's a damn shame how they treat us, but it's the truth. So I've just tanked gypsy style, and I like that. That's my focus, right? And you can see what the people do, and I like the fact that there's different facets of the hobby, right? You got your cichlid heads, they're purists, they love cichlids. You got people that they all nanos all day, you know, go team CPD, you know. Then you got your flower horn enthusiasts, you got your aquascape junkies, you got your catfish heads. Then you got your overcompensators, you know, your predator fish keepers. They got goddamn air partners swimming in a swimming pool, you know, the same thing, you know. That's a man fish right there, boy. You know, you don't gonna put Shamu in a kiddie pool there, why don't you, boy? Overcompensating much, don't you know? But hey, it's beautiful though, man. Me, I do gypsy style, man. I'm just like the Pantanal. You don't know how long the water's gonna be there, and guess what, baby? Sometimes it's gonna be a drought, and I'm okay with that. And I learned how to tank the same way. It's impartial, like nature. Hey, it ain't nothing personal, man. Hey, you got stuck in the Igapo because you was too stupid to swim downstream. Now you're gonna be stork food. It happens. Hey, it's just another day in the life of, you know? And I love that, man. Like, you can speak through your tanks. Your tanks are a reflection of you. And that's why I made my YouTube channel, to catalog my projects, man. Because like all that moving, I was laying down some really dope projects, man. But I never could, you know, become a part of a studio or a crew. And yes, they have art studios and fish tank crews. It's that serious, you know. But I never could be a part of one. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of just like developed my own style. Like I'm looking at my tank right now as I'm talking, because I'm turned up, bro. This is amazing. And I kind of like mixed them, right? Just like me, I'm a mix of everything. Like I'm an amalgam of bloods and ethnicities and cultures, and my tanks are an amalgam of styles, you know? Like I am a purist in some senses that there's certain things that I just won't stray away from. They're non-negotiable. And then there's other avenues that I'm open to explore, trying some new stuff and new ideas, and that's how we grow, you know. But that's pretty much it in a nutshell, Jorge. What about you?
Yeah. Well, I've kind of been in and out of the hobby, and the reason I say that is because I've always had a fascination for fish ever since I can remember, and I think part of it has always been, like I said, as a young kid, I was diagnosed with HDHD, and for some reason, fish tanks have always been soothing for me. I don't know if it's because I, in a weird way, I could kind of relate to the spastic movement of the fish
Yo
inside.
también, yo también.
But I could sit in front. I could sit in front of an aquarium wherever it was, whether it was saltwater or freshwater, and just stare at it for hours. And my mom would be so intrigued because that would be the only time I would actually stay still.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but just at the time, we didn't have the means to spend on other things than necessities. So, she every time we would, cause see, I'm from the time when Walmart used to keep fish
Mm-hmm.
to
Yo
sell,
también.
and
Yeah.
so every time we went to Walmart, she knew that when she was going to do her shopping, and this might be a little controversial nowadays, but she would just sit me. She would tell me, "Stay here, look at the fish." Sometimes it'd be the attendant of that aisle that would be there, and she'd ask him, "Hey, can you just kind of keep an eye on them?" But she knew that if she went and did whatever she needed to do, no matter how long it was, she was going to come back and find me standing right there in front of that spot,
Mm-mm.
looking at all these tanks. And it was the best place for me because if I got bored with one tank, I'd move over to the next one.
Eso.
I'd move over to the next one, and I never had enough time in my mind to see everything there was to see. I would just find it so fascinating just to see them interact and what they're doing. To this day, my wife, when I go missing in the house, the first place she comes to look to see if, is in my garage because this is where she's going to find me. If she's calling out for me and she can't find me in there, in one of the bedrooms or something, she knows. As a matter of fact, it's gotten to the point now where she comes and checks the garage first before she starts looking for me.
Hey, honestamente estoy culpable de eso también.
And I bless her heart because she really tolerates this. And at first when I first started, well, going back to when I first initiated, I must have been in my teens. I want to say I was probably about. I had to be older than 16, and the reason I say that is because at 16, I was able to get my first job while I was going to school. I started working through a program through school where I would work for 2 periods, um, where I had an elective period and my lunch period that I could work at the school cafeteria, washing the trays and cleaning up the cafeteria. And what was kind of neat about that job is that because I was always involved in sports, and I played year round, football, basketball, and baseball. I didn't have the luxury of working after school because I had practices and games and stuff like that. So for me, this was a little way for me to get a little bit of income, and it was pretty much, my mom. I remember her telling me, that's your money. I'm not going to ask you for any of that. What you make from there is for you to buy the things that she couldn't buy me at the time. So that being said, I know I had to be during that period that I finally had a little bit of coin in my pocket, and I was contemplating the idea of getting a fish tank. Back then, my very first fish tank was, I think, a 10-gallon tank that I bought at a yard sale, and it happened to be the type that had the chrome frame around the outside of it. And,
What?
and on that one, there are some stories about doing water changes and getting shocked in the
Yeah.
process of doing that. So you quickly learn that you're not supposed to ground yourself against that steel frame because you'll get zapped. And but that was my very first aquarium. But the way, and that was, I got the tank really after the fact. It's a little bit embarrassing, but it is what it is because that's the truth. The reason I finally got my first pair of fish was because at the local hardware store that was in El Centro where I used to live at, there was a very cute girl that used to work the pet shop section, and that is honest to God the truth. And I was trying to find an excuse to try to start a conversation with her. So, being young and stupid, you didn't know any better. So I would literally go for a couple of weeks straight every day and ask some of the dumbest questions. Every day, and I'd sit there and hang out with her for part of her shift, just going back and forth and trying to work up the courage to ask her out. And but anyways, I ended up after a couple of weeks because I couldn't just show up there anymore. It got to the point where it was kind of a joke because even the other employees would say, "Hey, your friend's here." So I ended up getting a pair of convict cichlids. That was my very first fish that I ever kept. And after I had them, I quickly got that tank, that 10-gallon tank, and I set them up in there. Um, Luck of the draw, I happened to get a male and a female. And at first I didn't know too much about them, and I was trying to go through all the paces of trying to figure out what was wrong with the fish, and because they did get ick. Obviously, I threw them in a glass box with some colored gravel. I remember vividly. It was that black aquarium gravel, and I thought I was going to be like real cool and mix it in with like navy blue because I was trying to play off some of those colors from the fish, and that was my setup. And I had some, your typical plastic plants in there that I forgot how much. I didn't pay very much for them, and
natural or
no,
the colored
plastic.
ones? Yeah, but
No,
the natural plastic
natural.
or the colored ones?
Yeah, no, I didn't like the neon color ones. I got the
All right,
natural
you
green
got
ones. And that was my first. That was well. Besides trying to keep the fish alive, the next thing I learned was that you really couldn't get away with planting or keeping any kind of decoration that could potentially float because the convicts were going to dig the substrate and rearrange the entire tank. So needless to say, those plants were only in there for a little short while because I got tired of trying to put them back in the gravel and doing all that stuff. So what ended up happening, obviously, I started, now that I had the responsibility trying to keep these fish, well, I needed to figure out how I was going to keep them alive. And that time we didn't have YouTube, the luxury of just getting on the internet and typing in some words and researching. I would go to the store and ask her, "Hey, my fish are doing this and this and that." And she goes, "Well, have you checked this? Have you checked that? Have you tested your water?" That was the first question. I was like, "Test? What do you mean test?" I just put it straight from the tap. And she goes, "Well, that's your first problem. You're using tap water." So I got to buy some dechlorinator. And then the next question is, "What temperature are you keeping them at?" I was like, "Temperature? Whatever the room is." So I got introduced to a heater. And so that's how my knowledge started to evolve and grow. And then I started going to the library, and in the library, I came across this book that kind of changed my whole fish keeping and sent me down the rabbit hole.
What book?
It was the complete guide for cichlids. I think it was
It's
called.
the one with the it's got a fire mouth on the front with babies on it.
It's either a fire mouth or convicts, but either way, they look
exactly
similar. And they had a bunch of little fries around the head. And that is what changed the entire hobby for me. Up to that point, I didn't know that there were certain things you needed to do to keep these fish and become successful. One of the first things that I learned is that if you wanted your fish to breed, you had to keep the water around 78 degrees. So I said, all right, I'm going to give that a try. Before I knew it, I was dealing with the same issue that most people that keep convicts have. I was just producing babies. The first time was so exciting that I must have screamed or something because my mom came running from the bedroom into the living room to try to figure out. She thought I had slipped or fallen or something because I was so excited that I was seeing all this cloud of little fry swimming around, and that's what hooked me. Ever since then, I've I've just been so fascinated with fish and breeding and what happens with them. So that I ended up doing keeping fish for right around until I went off to college, and after that I kind of didn't have the time to dedicate to the tanks, so I ended up giving my tanks to one of my friends or something like that, and gave them the fish and everything, and then just went away from the hobby for so long. I, I was going to school, working, and then eventually joined the National Guard and doing the weekend warrior stuff, and took off for basic and drilling and doing all those things. That I really didn't have time for me to dedicate to the hobby because I was always so busy. Like I said, I was always into sports, so um, a little bit of where I grew up. I grew up in Southern California, but at the very, very southern tip. I lived right on the border. Thinking like in Texas would be El Paso and Ciudad Juarez.
Mm-hmm. See,
That
love
was
it.
the only difference there is the dynamics of the cities. Typically along the United States border, you always tend to have the city on the United States be the large city and the one across the border being the smaller city. And that's a phenomena you see all along the border of California, and I think the rest of the country too, that borders with Mexico. Well, we're very unique in that the aspect it's the other way around. The city across the border from the town that I grew up with was Calexico, and
Mm-hmm.
that in itself, I'll explain a little bit about the names and the name of my channel. Across the border was Mexicali, hence where my name comes from for the channel. And Mexicali was the city of a million plus, whereas Calexico, which is composed of several different little towns, none of them being bigger than probably, I think now at this point, the biggest one is either El Centro with 50,000 people. I think the whole valley itself, because the main cities or towns would have been
Mm-hmm.
Calexico, El Centro, Imperial, Brawley, Holtville. And there's a couple other real small drive-through towns, which was Silly and Heber. And all of those towns form what's known as the Imperial Valley. And what's special about that area is that almost I want to say 80% of the produce that is in the markets today in the United States comes from the Imperial Valley. And so because of our climate, we tend to be we're a little oasis in the desert in reality, because if you look outside of what the valley is, everything else is arid. It's kind
Mm-hmm.
of, for those that are familiar with Palm Springs, where you have all this greenery in the desert. That's pretty much the same thing with us. It's you have all this green area right in the middle of the desert. Well, anyways, growing up in Calexico, we were literally separated from Mexico with a chain link fence, and it's literally a chain link fence. There was
Damn.
no wall, there was no nothing. I could be on First Street in Calexico, be walking on the sidewalk, and look right across the fence and see what Mexico was. Uh, so that being the case, I spend a lot of time in Calexico and living in Mexicali, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not it's not uncommon for people that live in Calexico to do that. We lived in Calexico basically from Tuesday to Thursday. And the reason I say that is because from Tuesday to Thursday is when I was going to school. We had classes Monday through Friday, but come Thursday, actually at the end of Friday, after class, we were all going back to Mexicali because we had a house. My parents owned a house in Mexico, and we rented a house in Calexico.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason we rented that is because me and my brothers had to go to school, and they wanted us to study in the United States. And one of the requirements is that, my lagging? Oh no, it's just a screen right there for a second. Well, one of the requirements was that if you were going to go to school in the United States, you had to be a resident of the United States, or else you had to pay tuition to be able to attend school. Well, obviously, it's the rent. The place was cheaper than the tuition that was for the school. So we had a real small. Uh, most people would call it a studio, but they dare to call it a one bedroom. where my parents had the bedroom and all my brothers would sleep in the living room. We pull back the couch and throw down blankets, and that's what we slept on. But for us, it was cool because that was never our home for us. That was just a place that fulfilled the need for us to be able to go to school there. Our home was in Mexico, so Friday through Monday, we were down there because it wasn't until Monday morning that I'd walk across the border to be able to go to school. And it's funny, you still see it today. You can tell where all of these kids in the morning, Monday morning, are all getting ready to go to school. Now it's even easier because elementary requires uniforms. So you see all these kids in white and blue just rushing the border around 7 o'clock in the morning because they got to cross over to go to school. And then Fridays afternoon, you see that same mass exodus of kids going back down to Mexico. And so that's kind of where I'm coming from. And the name Calexico is a play on words, because the first part, Cale, it's California, Exico being Mexico. And if you go across the border, Mexicali, it's Mex is from Mexico, and Cali because California was the border. But that's the general area where I'm from. That's why I'm bilingual, and that's why I can speak both languages. I think I'm pretty fluent in both. If anything, my Spanish lacks a little bit because I am known what most native speaking people in Mexico call a pocho, which means that I was born in the United States of Mexican descent. And pochos, we vary very much in what how good or how bad we speak Spanish. Generally, most pochos will speak Spanglish, which is where and we've all seen it nowadays because there's shows. If you see George Lopez, the George Lopez show, that's all they're speaking is Spanglish. But I being that I was on the border, I was able to pick up a lot more of my Spanish. And but if I go anywhere further down south, they automatically know, eres pocho, huh? That's the first thing they say. Tú eres pocho. And I was like, yeah, you got me there. There's no way around that one. But then, getting back to my fish keeping, I didn't really start getting back seriously into fish keeping until probably about 7 years ago now. During that whole period of time, I did my military, finished my degree from school, had a family, got divorced, and then had an instant family. And so once the kids started getting old enough where they didn't really want to hang out with us, and it was just me and my wife, it gave us a little bit of time to do stuff. And that's when I started getting back into the hobby. I started off with a 20-gallon tank that I got from a coworker. I happened to be on the computer at work looking at trying to find pricing on tanks. At that point, I think I had found out that Petco did the $1 per gallon sale. So I was on their website trying to see when the next one was coming up. And one of the guys walked by. He goes, "Oh, you have tanks?" I said, "No, I'm looking at probably starting up a tank, but I was just trying to see the price." He goes, "Well, I got one I can give to you because I bought it for my kids and they don't want it. They don't want it anymore." So that's how I got started back into this. One of the cool things, though, is like when I said my very first tank was colored gravel. I had an under gravel filter for my filtration system because I think at the time your only options were either a box filter, because I don't remember.
Box filter.
Yeah, it was a box filter. I don't think
with the charcoal and a polyfill and a tube.
Yeah, it was like 3 different layers of media.
Yeah,
you had like a poly, like a real fine one, and then you had I think the very top was second was like gravel, and then some coarse sponge at the very top or something like that. But those were the only 2 options, and I didn't understand the box filter too well because, well, I actually no, I think I got the under gravel because of that same girl. She said use this filter, so I said okay. I don't know any better, so I ended up getting that. And so my reintroduction into the hobby was very surprising to see how far along the hobby has come and evolved. When I left, there wasn't, to my knowledge, there wasn't any live plants to put in your tanks, and that's what got me back into it, was the
Mm-hmm.
fact that you could keep plants, you could keep a little garden in your fish tank, and I thought that was like the neatest thing ever. And then you start, like everything else that I do, I started going into these deep dives on YouTube. I wanted to see more plants, and then you come across, these beautifully immaculate scape tanks, and you're just mesmerized and going, "Whoa, I want to do that." And you start, looking more into that, and you found out that these are like Dutch style, and then there's the Japanese styles where it's just rocks and plants, and you start going all this down this deep rabbit hole, and it's like, oh, I got to get into that. Um, and to some degree, I still one day would like to set up just a like a competition tank, but I'm still learning plants. Uh, and in all honesty, I'm real cheap. I am one of the cheapest persons you're gonna. I like to do things relatively inexpensive. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if that's going to happen, because to be able to get into those high tech tanks, you got to buy the nice lights, you got to get the CO2, and those plants, they can get a little bit pricier. And so, but I still like looking at them. Where I've evolved now to where, I don't know if you can see a little bit behind me. I try to keep plants in all my tanks. I like to play around with doing some hardscaping and adding a little bit of driftwood. And I noticed that I look at the very first picture of that 20-gallon that I was telling you about, and I remember the very first plant I had in there was Elodia, and I thought that was like the coolest thing. I had a bunch of little stems planted in the bag with what looked like a real geometric rock formation in the front of it. And I thought that was like, oh, I'm balling here with this tank, because it was better than I ever had before. Now,
Right.
as time goes by, you start, you know, I've one of the things that I do consider my fish room is an experiment lab, because I like to play with the different substrates. I've been evolving.
Mm-hmm.
At first, I started out with just regular aquarium gravel, and then I started learning about keeping soil tanks, and did a dive into that, and I started doing playing around with that. I think the very first video that I saw on that was from the water box from Chung. Uh,
Okay. Good
he went
channel.
on that path. What I didn't realize is that when you're doing planted tanks, you are going to have a certain
Nutrient.
amount. Yeah, you're going to have that nutrient.
Yeah.
That was a learning experience for me. If I hadn't done it, if I hadn't tried it, I would have never learned that. And then it evolved from there to following what Father Fish was doing with his deep substrates. And if you look in my videos, you'll see the evolution of those tanks, because you'll start seeing the substrate on my tanks getting just bigger and thicker and thicker and thicker. And I started playing with that, and that's worked out for some plants. And then after going that route, I decided, well, what happens if I just grow stuff in just gravel? Will it grow? And I found out that jungle vel will grow fine in just straight up gravel, the little pea gravel. And then I've used pool filter sand, and I've had success with that. Granted, the growth is going to be a lot slower, and it takes a lot longer, and it takes a while for your fish to be able to create enough of a bio load to be able to be used by your plants. So that's why I'm saying that patience is something that you really need to practice in this hobby, because it's just part of what's going. You need time. You need to give everything time. So that's kind of where I'm at now. Now the latest thing is I'm playing around with plenums, uh, going back a little bit to the old school of keeping under gravel filters, but with a little twist. And so far, I'm liking it. I've had real good success with the goldfish tank. As a matter of fact, and it wasn't clickbait on that video. I literally had a spotlight on that tank for 2 months just because I was too lazy to go to Walmart and buy a timer for it. And at first it was, I'm going to go at the end of the week. And after that week, I said, well, what's going to happen if I don't turn off this light? And I pretty much let it run for 2 entire months with the light on 24/7. And I never had an issue with algae. So that's what's kind of got me convinced that there might be something to this whole plenum systems. But, only time will tell. But, I think we need to get close to wrapping this up because I didn't realize.
Yeah, no. I was
Well,
just
it's an hour
listening
and a
to
half.
you talking about plenums, but you just made a point of what I said earlier. Experimenting, and then it ain't never what's said or what's done. It's who's saying it and who doing it. And I think like with social media, people forget the pivotal thing. If it wasn't for people like me and you being cheap, figuratively speaking, and experimenting, we wouldn't have any of the stuff that we have. And then it's like with social media, people want to get to name dropping and saying, well, such and such is doing this over here, and such is doing this over here. And with me, it's one of them things to where there's no right way, there's no wrong way. There's the rules. These rules are not the rules of man. These rules are the laws of nature. There are things that you have to do, and if you don't do them, other things will or will not happen. Whether they are beneficial or not beneficial, it depends on what you're trying to accomplish, but it's going to happen because that's just what it is. And I think that with this show, the direction that this live stream is taking, that's how we can combat that, because so much energy and time is wasted on who right and who wrong that we're missing out on ideas. I'm of the mentality of, how about you just try it and see? I'm kind of like, well, what you do? Well, let's figure it out. If that don't work, we'll try it again. If not, and that's how it was with me and plants. There was no plants back in the day. There was this. Here, I'm going to grab a book. This is what we had back in the day. We had books, bro. This is what we had. And I would go to the library and check out books just like this, man. This one is just different medicinal weeds, herbs, Like I remember like this just encyclopedia. But I remember getting laughed at by people and, oh, you're a hippie and just crazy nonsense. Very disparaging, okay? Only for like 20 years later, freaking Dr. Oz and Oprah, and now like you can't get none of the vitamins no more because all the hippies are buying them, or not the hippies, the yup, you know what I'm saying, because it's who said it. And I wanted to ask you, and then we should wrap it up. I think we got a good one here. We're about right at one and a half. How many times has interactions in the hobby discourage you from doing something only for later to find out not only that's what you should have did based on your knowledge, your intuition, and just your overall understanding of what it is you're doing, but not only that, but it's the hot thing in the street, and then you do it and it's like you jumping on the bandwagon, for a lack of a better way to say it. And I think that I want to bring that up because everybody not us, bro. It's kids out there. It's people that's got mental illness out there that need aquariums to help them, like you did, like I did. so we can sit down and be still some damn way. You know, it's people out there that's got grief going on. They done lost a loved one, and they started keeping aquariums. People that they don't necessarily have a partner or a spouse. They live by themselves. You know, and I just think it's irresponsible to not think about that and be so selfish and not put yourself in somebody else's shoes and watch what you say and how you say it. Or better yet, if you don't know what you're talking about, don't say nothing. You see what I'm saying? And that's why I brought that up, because like me personally, I can't tell you how many times. I really can't, because there ain't that many. Because I'm going to tell somebody how I really feel, and then I go do this right here. You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with the books. And what I learned how to do is cross-reference. If more than one book say the same or similar things about the same topic, then it's probably right. And that's how I go with it, because it cuts out all the emotional nonsense and the middleman stuff. You know, I'm going to give you an example. Blackwater aquariums, right? I've been keeping Blackwater aquariums since I was a kid. The same thing with the Alyssima. Oh, y'all are going to hate me for this. The Alyssima Gilberti. Yeah, the sunfish. Keeping them since I was a kid. They are native to where I live. We actually have the cooler variant because we are west of the Mississippi. We have the banded pygmy here, and it's beautiful. So, like pirate perches, stuff like that. And I wanted to make a slice of outside in the house. So that's what I literally did. And trial and error, I made a slice of outside in the house. Guess what the books helped me do? The books helped me figure out that I should probably learn how to stratify substrate layers. I should learn how to make false bottoms. I should learn about the denitrification cycle in my substrate so that it don't go sour and like everything go anaerobic and I just have a nasty mess. Because like if it stinks, I'm gonna get beat. Like the only way this is feasible in my house when I was a young one, it better not stink, it better not get out.
Yeah,
that was the deal, because they knew like I had like issues and stuff. Like I told you, I lost my mom at a young age. You know what I'm saying? And that's what did it. Now it's all the rage, like, you know, all this stuff, and I mean, and that's cool. But I think the problem is respect, and I hope that through this live stream that we can live by example and show that respect is paramount. And with respect, you have to respect other people's experiences, because what happens is when you discredit somebody's experience, what you are essentially doing is you're calling them a liar. And I don't like being disrespected, and I damn sure don't like being called a liar, you know? And it just goes back to self-awareness, Jorge. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like being able to understand that your window of experience in whatever particular thing, it's just that. It's your window. And there's nothing wrong with being proud of your window, but be open-minded to other people's windows, because that's how we grow, you know? And so, I mean, yeah, this is good. We got topics for days. Real quick, I do want to run the comments real quick one more time before we wrap it up and pay our just dues, because what we want you guys to know that's here right now is this is y'all's show. We just facilitate it. There will be no browbeating, no ramshackle running, none of that. We're going to essentially hold the panel quite well, but it's for y'all. It's y'all's show. So keep that in mind. I'm going to check these comments out and see who done pulled up. I see some new faces in here.
yeah.
We got Patrick Hardy in here. What is going on, cousin? Pat Hardy up in here. Let's see. We got Eric from Majestic Cichlids is up in here. The Biz, Fishy Biz Aquatics is up in here. I seen Skipper up in here, the homie Skipper.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, Viz.
Majestic, we got you. Let's see who else is in here. Laura V still in here. Corey Dorable and Kazzy Cat. Shout out to both of y'all. Y'all gonna be our cheerleaders. That y'all got promoted today on the spot. That's some military stuff right there. On the spot promotion right now. Both of y'all. Y'all been promoted
You
on the
got
spot.
Jeffrey Watts is here.
Yeah, Jeff Watts in here. Gave a shout out to the homie Jeff Watts. Let's see who else we got in here. I think that's it. But I appreciate everybody. Like everybody. I'm looking at my phone, y'all, so forgive me. Anything you want to add or any thoughts you want to leave everybody with before we wrap it up? Like, it just feels so good to hang out, bro. I don't even want to get off, but
I know,
I know I got
but
stuff to do.
people got stuff to do too.
Exactly.
First of all, I really want to thank you. Thank you for sticking around, you know, as long as you guys have. Um, you know, especially to hear us just go on talking about the hobby. Hey, at least we can share with you guys because I know I started doing this with my wife and I lose her in like 2 minutes and then she's up and gone. But just to let them know, right now we're kind of set to do this every other week.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a little bit of a complicated work schedule because I work shift work and I work 7 days straight and then off whenever like it varies between 2 days sometimes and 4 days some other times. So there might be an occasion where that happens to fall on that week we're supposed to um, broadcast, and you might just get Steve by himself just because if I'm working during day shift, I don't think I can pull it off being at work and streaming at the same time. But that would be the only reason why I wouldn't be here. Anything else you got for them?
No. I want to thank my co-host Jorge. Muchísimas gracias. What y'all don't know is Jorge just did like a beast mode thing. Like, this dude is running off of like love and I don't know, probably coffee or something because he ain't slept. Just got through grinding a massive shift, like he said. No sleep and just grinded out this amazing stream. So thank you for that, bro. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm going
And
straight
thank
to bed after
all of
this.
y'all. Patrick Hardy says, I enjoyed the show. Thanks for the stream. Corey Dorable is loving the promotion. Let's see. Skipper says it was a great stream. Jeff Watts, peace. Thank you all. Love and coffee. Yeah, that's my jam too. Speaking of which, I am going to have
That's
afternoon
true.
coffee. I think I'm going to give them bougie coffees too.
Yeah.
I'm going to see how much money I got.
Eric is a workaholic, man. When I do shift work, I'll get on at for Majestic Cichlids. I'll
He
be
said
working
2
graveyard
days
and
no
just
sleep.
yeah, he works 24/7. I don't know
Hey,
how he does it.
let me give the homie Eric a shout out real quick. Hold on. Hey, game recognized game, and we make these videos, bro. And I look at creators, bro, and creators always resonate with me. And when I say creator, I'm not talking about somebody who is pretty much a carbon copy of somebody else's channel. I'm talking about creators because by the time you sit down and you get the footage, you edit the footage, you wait for the footage to render, you wait for the footage to upload, you got to promote it, you got to tag it, you got to do all this stuff, and it's work. And to see people creating and not making no excuses, they don't got the best gear, they don't have $10,000 invested in cameras and all that like that, but they grinding. I respect that. That's why y'all see videos from me like once a month if y'all lucky, because I'm doing everything. And I want to take my time and make a good video for y'all. And the same thing with Jorge. Like, it's pride and you can see it. Hey, like, I'm not putting a video out that I don't feel good about. And that's just how it is. So if y'all haven't, go check out Majestic Cichlids and check out what I'm talking about. The artistic value of what he's trying to do in his videos. It is commendable. And I seen it. Like, I was like, yeah, bro, that's where it's at. And I like it. So go check him out. And thank you, bro, for cranking them out. Keep doing it, bro. Can't wait to see what you finna drop next. But other than that, I got nothing. You guys have a good weekend. God bless you. I'm going to turn it over to Jorge. And I'm Steve from Warrior Planet Tanks. Thank you guys for stopping by, man. I'm out. Jorge, you got it.
Yeah, just once again, I don't know how else to say it, but thank you very much. Muchas gracias por haber estado aquí con nosotros. Yo sé que 1 hora 40 ya en lo que estamos es mucho tiempo para invertirle a algo sin hacer nada. So I'm hoping that we get you guys back, and hopefully we're here to provide that service that we're promising you, and you guys have to keep us on check. That's the whole reality of this. We want to stay focused on subject matter. We can have conversation, but we'd like to stay, I guess, because of our military background, it's task on hand. We got to get that done. We got a mission. We got to complete it. And so, thank you so much. This is incredible.
Yeah, that's pretty dope.
So with that, see you on the next one.
Peace.